That's recording me?
Yep.
In that picture?
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear. I comb my hair once today, but you never know it.
It's always talkative until the camera turns on.
Yeah,
Huh?
I can't think of anything to say. Well, I hope it isn't blizzardy on Saturday. You know, this winter we haven't had many blizzardy days. And it would have to, of course they say the winds, they claim today the wind's going to get from 10 to 20 to 15, 10 miles an hour. They said it blew yesterday, and I sit here and look out there and I couldn't see tree limbs moving at all. Mm-hmm. That's why I can see the best out that way, because the light's coming that way and I can't see the trees. But I was reading the paper this morning and they have a little weather thing for every day of the week. Every day the wind's supposed to blow a little, so every day it's supposed to snow. Possibility. And Saturday has a 50% possibility. The rest of the week it's 10 or 30, 20 or 30 possibility, so. And so, Evan enjoyed his trip, huh?
Yeah, except he's sick now.
He's sick?
Yeah, I don't know. He didn't get much sleep on the way home, and then I guess he must have been exposed to bugs there. There's people from all over, and he had a choir concert last night, but he was feeling sick, and then he went to find his tux, and he couldn't find it, so they're guessing it's on the bus, and so wherever they put their lost and found, so they're trying to track it down, but he just didn't go to his concert. He was going to go and mouth the words so he could get the participation grade, because they grade you on going to your concerts, but he couldn't find the tux, and so if he's not in the right uniform, he won't get the grade anyway. So.
Well, when they go back there on those buses, they just put their tux in a bag, don't they? And not a suitcase, but a bag.
Yeah, and the way it was, usually, the bus gets there. If there's anything left on the bus, they'll just take it all off. But they combined the buses for the whole East Idaho. They went from Rexburg all the way down, picking up people in every city. And so when they got to Blackfoot, there's still 2 schools worth. So they didn't think anything of the extra stuff there. So now they got to call up to Rexburg and see if it's up there.
Well, you got to know the bus company. I don't know.
Yeah, the owner of the bus company is in Blackfoot, so that's nice. It's Harrington.
I remember, I think it was Marlene. She went back to the pageant. She got to go back to the pageant at Camora. And when she came home, I think it was a blanket she had lost. And the bus company was from Salt Lake. So when we were down there once, we went in. And I think we found it. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's like you say, it just comes on the bus and then they put it in their lost and found. And I think it was her. It wasn't Leanne, was it? No, because when we went in, the bus company, here come a guy to help us, and it was a kid from Jerome that we knew from Jerome. And he had driven one of the buses, but I don't think Marlene had ever been on it, on the one he drove. But anyway, he was there working in the office that day and came out, and we were surprised to see him, because we didn't know. He left Jerome quite a few years before that. He had a very good voice, and if I remember right, he got in the Tabernacle Choir. So he was working in Salt Lake.
I don't know if that's one of Evan's goals, but he probably could if he goes to a Utah school. I don't know if he will or not, though.
Yeah, see, Leanne, she sang in the that youth choir, and then as soon as you're 30, you have to get out of that. But you have to know a lot about music. You have to know notes and all that kind of stuff, And
they only practice once a week for their Sunday broadcast, right? I think they only practice on Thursday nights and then do their Sunday broadcast off of that one practice.
Yeah, they all have to be pretty good at it. The only thing is, I don't see how they can all get off at the same time to go on those tours. Cause, you
Yeah,
know,
it's not full time, so they have to take off work.
Yeah, they'd be, even the women, you know, if they're housewives, maybe that'd be easier for them, but if they have children, they have to see somebody who tends the children. And then a lot of women work nowadays, so the men and the women work, so I was reading about a tour once not long ago, and how they went in a number of cities, and there wasn't a lot of time between them, and I thought they were gone for 10 days or 2 weeks, and I thought, man, when I got home I'd just crash. I think you'd be so worn out. And besides all the things you have to do, I would worry. And so I would just be dead time I got home.
Yeah, I try not to worry anymore. I figure if there's nothing I can do about it, then worrying's not going to help. And if there is, then might as well do it. And if there's nothing I can do about it now, I put it in my planner and forget about it.
Telling myself that this last night. I was worried for fear that on Saturday it would be snowy and wind blowing. And I thought, well, there's not a thing I can do about it. So I guess I might as well forget it. So...
You can't change the weather, and you can pray in faith, and God can change the weather. That's all you can do.
You know, at my age, there's so many things to worry about, because a lot of people could get in a car and go, and if they had drifts or stuff, you know, they could get through them. But me, as old as I am, there's no way that I could get out of a car and do anything. So.
That reminds me, last night. We got a phone call, and it was on my dad's cell phone. We heard it ringing, didn't get to it in time because he had stuck it in his lunchbox on the bus, I guess, didn't want to wear it around. Or probably keeps it there during work. But then he was out doing Friends of Scouting, and so pretty soon we get a call on the home phone, and it's Dallin. I slid off the road and high-centered on someone's landscaping. He had been trying to turn onto the road his apartment's on, and he slid over these, it's just a rock pile into someone's yard, and so we couldn't get it to go backwards, so we called luckily we have one of my dad's friends is a mechanic. He's the one that does all our mechanic work, and so we've given him lots of business. He's a good friend, and he had a wrecker. He came out with his wrecker, and right before he got there, my dad tried to push it. It was up on one wheel and the rock. And so we found the way you had to push it. We tried pushing the front first and it wouldn't budge, but then we started pushing on the back and pushed it off the rock, and then it could just roll right off. The rock was just the thing that was stopping it, and it was suspending the drive wheel, so it couldn't get any.
What was this?
It's in Blackfoot there.
Oh, it's down in the Blackfoot area.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where him and Cody live. I don't know if you knew that Cody and Dallin moved out into an apartment.
I knew that Cody had, but I didn't know.
Yeah, Dallin moved in with him once he got his job, and into January, I think he moved in there.
Oh, yeah. And that's right there in Blackfoot, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He slipped off the road last night.
Yeah, right when it started getting bad. It had only been bad for maybe a half hour or so. I think he didn't realize how slick it was.
And the
no one
storm.
really
It was probably still storming, huh? But the people whose house he slipped into say...
My mom went up and talked to him, and they asked if we needed to give him any money or anything, and he said, "Oh, that's just my grandpa's old rock pile." So I guess the house must have been in the family for a while. She said it was a young family, but he called it his grandpa's rock pile, so maybe it was a multi-generation household or something, but he didn't seem to care too much, and the policeman said he got their information and got our information, and so if they do decide they want money, then they'll go through the policeman and they'll tell us.
What did it do to your car? His car?
He couldn't see the guy with the mechanic that came, took a flashlight under it and couldn't see any damage, and looked at the wheels and said it looks like the alignment's all right.
Well, I don't know where the gas tanks are in cars anymore, but sometimes that would be the first thing I'd worry about, is the gas tank.
I think the tank's in the back.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
That's it. Nowadays, you don't know where the things are in the car anymore. You talk about rock piles. The other day, Wally asked me if I wanted to ride, and we went out see the house on the butte.
Mm.
2 houses now. And off in the distance, I said, well, now what's that? Is somebody digging another basement? And it was a great big pile of rocks. They said, no, that was probably just the rocks that they took out of where they built. Because, you know, I said, you never stop to think about that place being rocky, but still I knew it was, because the road that went down in front of the house and it went past the barn and then turned and went down to the main road, it had little bumps. You could see rocks every time you drove over. It bump, you know. And I forgot about that. And still, of course, I guess Mom had a little garden there after they got the water. But I guess you don't have to go too deep for a garden. Mm. She raised a good garden there. But
nowadays there's rocks at the ends of all the potato fields because with their equipment it digs, you know, it digs them and then pulls the spuds up and then they pick the rocks out, and when they get to the end they toss them out to the side to get, so they're not back in the field again.
Those were, that's kind of gravelly like thing, but these are big rocks like this. So I the last time I was out that way that they had the foundation of the other house, but now they've got it all built up. It still hasn't got the outside covering on it, but it's got the insulation and all that on it. But they're both down to the end, you know, up the hill. I want a house up here. And they're both down there. One is so close to the end of the lot that is right next to the ditch. And I said, why would they drive down there and make it? And Wally said it's probably because the lots are cheaper down in that area. The higher up you go, probably the more expensive they get. I always figured that I'd like to build a home out there and build it right in the middle of the butte, right in the middle, and then make the whole thing lawns, like a big golf course or tennis courts or something like that, swimming pool. Or
open a country club and put them all.
And that's what I was thinking, you know. You could build a big home and rent it out for weddings or things, and especially if you had it nice and looking nice and all that. And, of course, you know, when I was kids, we used to imagine a lot of things. We used to sit and talk about it, you know. Oh, we could do this and this and this, and never got it done. Never even got a decent home to live in.
You got a good family, though.
Well.
And the majority of them are still in the church, so you must have done something right.
Well, yeah, well, except poor Gordon. And I don't know. I have no idea why he didn't stick with the church. Well, I shouldn't say that. He didn't have an example to follow, to encourage him, you know. But neither did the other 2 boys.
Was he the oldest, Uncle Gordon?
Huh?
Was Uncle Gordon the oldest?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, he was the oldest. There was 2 girls and then 3 boys. In fact, there was 3 girls, then a boy, then a girl, and 2 more boys. Because it was a baby died right after me, come between me and Gordon. And then the baby died right after Gordon, that came between him and Kent. So there was 7 altogether.
Modern medicine is good for childbirth. A lot of babies used to die, I think, a lot younger back then.
Well, the first little girl, I think that she had heart troubles because she only lived, I think, 10 days, and they called her a blue baby. And that means, you know, that she's not getting, and probably, you know, if she was born nowadays, they could have done something for her. I mean, in fact, they may have realized that she was having problems before she was ever born. And then the other little girl, I'm sure she would be alive today, but if they'd had penicillin back there, because she died of pneumonia. And they didn't have penicillin in those days, so I'm thinking she probably would have made it. It had penicillin and stuff. And she was 6 months old. She was just at the stage where she was getting real cute. I remember, you know, when they were back in those days, they used to dress them in white clothes, baby dresses and that, until they got big enough so they could get up and around and that. And I remember Mom had a little piece of material that had a little tiny print in it, and she made her a cute little dress. was her first little colored dress. We kept saying that's her first little colored dress. And she got out of the white dresses and got these little colored ones, but she didn't last long after that. You know, it's funny, I can't, in a way I can remember her, in a way I can't. I know I can remember, we talked about this little dress, and I remembered she was sitting up on Mom's lap at the table one time, and Mom was feeding her, and she put the bread in the egg yolk and feed her, and she took it and did it herself, and we thought, oh, that was really smart for a 6-month-old, you know, and still, and I can remember when she got sick. This was on a Saturday. They took her into the hospital. And so my aunt and uncle lived there close, and I guess we went down there to stay with them. And we stayed all night, because Sunday morning we went up and went to church. And that's while they were in church was when Uncle Ollie got the call that she'd died, I guess. And I don't remember when he told us. I don't remember how I felt when he told us. I don't remember if I really understood, and still I was 9 years old. And then I can't, and in those days they used to bring the bodies to the home to show them before the funeral. And I remember they brought her, and I'm sure I looked at her in the casket, but I can't remember that. I remember where the casket sat and that in the house. And I can't remember going to the cemetery. You know, those kind of things. I'm sure I must have gone because it was in June.
She's buried here in Shelley?
Yeah. I can't remember going to the cemetery, and I'm sure we must have gone to the funeral. And I don't know that, unless they just had a little graveside service. Now, they could have had a graveside service for the first baby, but I imagine for her, they would have probably had a little more of a funeral. You know, isn't it funny? You sit and think of all these things, and you think, why didn't we ask more about that? Why didn't we ask Mother this, or why didn't we ask Dad this and that, you know? And then you think, well, who would know? Well, hardly anybody but me. I'm the oldest one in Fern. And then Gordon, when he was alive, he knew a lot. He knew a lot of people and could tell you about a lot of them. And we assume today, Wally and I get to talking about somebody, well, what was their name, or what was their wife's name, or something. Oh, if Gordon was here, he could tell us, you know. We just...
I wish I would have talked to him more, like I do with you in interview and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to interview the older generation to try to get their stories down and get it recorded in as much as possible and stuff.
And back in those days, see, we didn't have such a thing as recorders. We had to remember. And it's funny how some things will stick out in your mind, and you don't know why, because they're not that important. But some things you can just remember, and you think, well, why can I remember this? Because it's not that important, but it sticks out in your mind. I was thinking of something the other day. What was it? It stuck out in my mind, and I thought, why am I remembering this? Because it wasn't that important. It must have hit me in the right place, so I wouldn't forget it.
I've just taken basic psychology, but I know if you have an emotion tied to a memory, it locks it into your memory.
Yeah. And I think about my eyes, because my eyes are getting so bad, and you know, I don't remember this personally, only that I heard it. I think I remember it from hearing it, that I was out somewhere with Mom outside, and I fell, and there was a dry weed sticking up, and it poked me in my eye. And I had a bad eye for a while, and I don't remember all that, but I remember Mom telling me about it. And I must have been 5 years old then, so you thought I could have remembered that. But
yeah, memory is so suggestible, too, that I have some memories of when I was young that I don't know if I remember it from watching a movie, from being told the story, or if it's an actual memory. But I can tell you what I remember, but I don't know if it's a constructive memory or an actual memory.
That's right. You think of things and you think, well, do I know this just because they told me this? I've heard it over and over enough, or do I know it because I was there? You know, my grandma and grandpa Jensen had a 50th wedding anniversary, and my aunt and uncle lived in Rexburg then. And we all went up there. Well, some of us. I don't think the whole family got there, but we went up there, and Wally was just little. He was, probably maybe 2 if he was that old. And he had a cousin that was around the same age. And I think what helps me remember this is we had a picture of it. But they dressed him up in a little black suit with a little bow tie, and they put a little lace curtain on her head, and that was the bride and the groom celebrating Grandma and Grandpa's. And we did have a picture of that. In fact, I don't know, we thought maybe it was burned when they left the house and left a lot of stuff in the house and it burned down. But somewhere I saw that picture again. Somebody's got that picture. Wally looks like he's not enjoying it at all. And he might not even been 2 years old because he had a little fat face, but he's old enough he could stand up. And I can remember that part of it. I can remember being up there, but I can't remember eating or if they had a wedding cake or all that kind of stuff. I just don't remember that. What reminded me of it, I was looking through this book right here this morning, and you want to take a look at it? It was showed Grandma and Grandpa's Peterson's golden wedding. It's right on the first page, your second there. And that was in 57. So we moved in 57. Wonder if this was before we moved. I remember being there, but I can't remember if it was before we moved or after.
I've never met him, but I can see Grandpa in him. I think Grandpa looks like his dad too.
Yeah. There's a lot of pictures in there, but over there one page they got some of the boys, and they said it's somebody in Vaughan, and I thought, oh, that's Lee. They do look a lot alike, those kids. Really, when you get them together, they don't, but they resemble each other enough to kind of get them mixed up.
I've seen all these names on a pedigree chart, but I've never put a face with them.
Yeah. That's, the whole book was made by Sylv Rasmussen's son. So that's why he's got the picture of Grandma and Grandpa to begin with, and then he's got the story of their lives. And then he includes all her brothers and sisters as it goes through.
It looks like he might have the signature Peterson underbite. Grandpa had an underbite, and Uncle Nolan does. My dad doesn't very bad. The bottom jaw seems to protrude more than...
Who'd you think?
John Henry Peterson.
Oh, yeah, that's
His
Grandpa.
chin kind of sticks forward.
I don't remember. All he had was false teeth, though, I remember. I think Dad might have had it.
An underbite?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
I don't think my dad does, but it's noticeable in Uncle Nolan.
And Nolan, that chewing his tongue, I don't know where he got that.
I don't. It must be Peterson, because I think my dad does it when he works. And I was playing a racing game the other day, and my tongue was sore afterwards. I chewed it so because I get tensed when I get tensed up, and I was.
But you know, Nolan chews his all the time. And you know, he's told me that, you know, people ask him about it and stuff like that. You'd think he would try and get over it in all these years he's lived, but apparently he hasn't. It doesn't. Maybe it don't bother
it's not.
him.
I don't think it's a problem unless he bites it or something.
I think people used to make fun of him, but must not have bothered him bad enough to. You see our family in there?
Oh, are you in there?
It's close to the end, not quite, because there was Sylv and then.
There's Delbert Lott, Lee Peterson, and others.
That's when they were kids, isn't it?
Looks just like I think they're the adults in this picture right here.
Yes, that's right. I was thinking of the other.
Looks just like Quinn.
Oh yeah.
To me.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't know if that might be Lee right there.
Do you see Lee's shoes on there? We got a picture of him standing out there somewhere in front of the church, and he's got fancy shoes on, white and colored shoes. What do you call them?
Oh, I know what you're talking. The white and black.
Yeah, where they have that.
Like wingtips.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know they have a name for the black and white ones.
Somebody said something about fancy.
There's him with horses. Didn't he used to break horses as a kid? When he was younger?
He tried to.
Yeah. Oh, there you are. Marlene, Lee, Ethel, Nan, Leon, Leanne, and Nolan. Also, everyone. Except Uncle Nolan's kind of cut off.
Yeah, I was looking at that this morning. It said Nolan. I thought, where's Nolan? Where's Nolan? And so I can't see anymore, and so I was wondering if I was missing him.
I don't think my dad's ever changed the way he combs his hair. He's always done that side part.
Yeah, he's always had that cowlick or something. It's on this side. There.
I think it's parted in the other side in this picture, but it's always a side part.
It has on the left side there.
I think that's the side he does now, if I remember right. When he was a kid, it was opposite.
The other one, huh? And you know, your dad isn't going bald, or is he?
No, he's got nice
and Nolan,
salt and pepper.
As far as I know, hasn't gone bald. Where you kids?
What did your dad do?
My dad didn't go bald.
Yeah, they say you get it from your mom's side. But it's more what your mom's brothers do, I think, because my grandpa on my mom's side had thinning hair, but I guess I don't think mine is continuing to thin. I think it thinned a little and stayed that way.
Yeah.
So I don't like the bald spot on the back, but it doesn't seem to be getting bigger to me.
That's like Dad's. Got the bald spot on the back, and then it just kept getting bigger.
Yeah, mine doesn't seem to be getting bigger right now, but I don't know. I don't see the back of my head very often.
It's the way of me.
Do you have pictures of my dad as a kid? I haven't seen very many. These are the first ones I think I've ever seen when he was a kid. I mean, I'm sure I must have seen one or two, but...
Well, I guess we didn't have a lot back in those days. We didn't have cameras like they have nowadays and take pictures of them every time they turned around. I don't think we got... Maybe we got a picture of him when he was a baby. There's a...
Oh, is that Aunt Nan back there?
Yeah.
Can't see her long hair very well, and she looks just like Jimmy.
Oh,
to me, yeah. So, I guess that's where he gets his look. You can tell, Marlene hasn't changed her look in her whole life either. She looks just the same as she does now.
Yeah. The only thing is her hair's graying too.
Leanne looks like Tamara to me, though.
Who?
Leanne looks like Tamara in this picture.
Yeah, she does. But there's pictures of...
And my dad looks like the shirtless kid too, Bryce, or one of them. I knew Bryce when he was younger like that, so.
There's pictures of Tamara that... Let's see, what she looked like. A picture of... Just have a picture of her when she was little, and she looked so much like... I guess it's Annie, her daughter.
It's interesting how you can see people like... When you didn't know them as kids, when you see kids' pictures, you can see their kids in them. Like, Nolan looks like Thane in that picture.
Oh, yeah.
And Thane was the one of their kids I knew young. Now, Sam and Ben are both older than me, so.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think he's got, and see, a lot of his brothers and sisters, he's got the wedding pictures and that. But, I guess we didn't give our wedding pictures out. Our wedding was a different wedding. We didn't invite anybody to go to the temple with us, and Lee's mother and dad couldn't go because they had her mother and dad at their home taking care of them. And my mother was the only one that was with us. Kitty invited his brothers and sisters, but I said that's the first time I'd ever gotten married. I didn't know what to do.
I don't see the fancy shoes you were talking about. Maybe there's a different section
I don't
or
think they're in
something.
that one. No.
Oh, okay.
I can't. They're probably in that ones that Leanne's got down there, and she's supposed to be. She's had it for years.
Oh, she's scanning him, right?
Yeah, she's had them for 10 or 12 years.
I need to teach her how to use Dropbox. They have an internet now. It's like a shared hard drive, basically. So she takes the pictures, put them in Dropbox, and anyone can access them. Anyone who has the password for that Dropbox. So
she took my photograph album and a lot of other pictures. Well, they came in here once. I guess it was our golden wedding, and they snuck downstairs and took a lot of pictures that they didn't even tell me they had taken. They used them for the golden wedding, and so she still got a bunch of those that are loose. And then we had a big old photo album that the pictures you put them in by pasting those little things on the corners, and they fell out. So she's got those, and and there's a box downstairs. I want you to go down with me someday and get that's got pictures in. It's ones with in frames, and I don't know what all I can think of it. I know there's some down there, but I don't know.
You were talking about what you remember about your grandparents' 50th. Yours wasn't even that long ago, comparatively speaking, and I don't remember anything about food or anything. I remember, was it there? It might have been there where we wrote like our favorite memory of you guys or something. Or was that Grandpa's birthday?
80th birthday.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was a memory about Grandpa, because the only thing I could think to write was that we always had to go outside to say hi to him before he had his stroke. He was never inside when we came over. He was always outside doing gardening or yard work or something.
Yeah. Do you remember the drum at all?
Mm-mm.
I don't remember that at all. Huh?
We'd always untie the tire swing, and every time we came, it'd be tied back up because he didn't use it. He'd tie it up so he could mow lawn or whatever, and just leave it tied up.
And finally it got wore out. The rope just gave away. So I guess it's still out there tied up, as far as I know. And then see, we celebrated our golden wedding just before he had his stroke.
It was at the church, right?
And we had, and then we had it in Jerome too. And we celebrated a little early because we got married in December and we were afraid the roads and stuff would be bad. And we wanted to have one in Jerome, so we had that one in September. And then this one up here, I think, must have been in October. Because we just got him over, and see, in November he had his stroke. Mm-hmm. And we've been married.
Yeah, then I don't remember anything about it. I know I was there, but that's all I remember.
Okay,
was there a picture slideshow, like on a DVD or something that was playing there?
That was either that or 80th birthday.
Because I remember seeing your. I think there was a picture of you in the marching band when you had forgot your clarinet.
Oh.
I think that was the first time I saw that picture.
Yeah, that's what she's got in Utah right now. Those kind of things. And
yeah, it was probably from the anniversary.
Oh, I promised somebody. Who was it? The other day I'd find some pictures for him. Who was it? And they wanted a picture of Dad's, Lee's family group. And I know I got one, but I think it's probably downstairs in that box I was telling you about. But the funny part was we kept it. It was in a folder about this big, and I kept it on the piano. And I remember I was dusting the piano once, or I was polishing it, using polish, and I spilt some on that picture, and it's just taken Spence's face off the picture. It just ruined that part of the picture enough to take Spence's.
My dad has a picture pedigree I gotta get from him before it's too late now.
He's got a picture pedigree?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's where I saw the picture of John Skinner. He had a big mountain man beard. He settled, was it Noonan, Idaho?
Oh, yeah. And then there's a picture of John Henry, Grandpa's dad, and his brother, and his mother in that one there. And then, see, then his mother died when she had a little girl, and I don't think the baby was very old. I don't think it was right at childbirth, but it wasn't very old. And that's when the Skinners took her and raised her, because the mother was a Skinner. See, Lee's grandmother was a Skinner, and the Skinner